So you will hear in this video some sounds that are either used a little differently in Sulatlak than they are in English, or a couple of sounds that we don't have in English at all. So I'm going to do my best to explain how they work. So the first is actually a pair of sounds. It's two sounds. The M sound, exactly like English, M, but it can alternate with sort of a V sound. We're using the letter V, but in English, when we say the V sound, we use our teeth on our bottom lip, V. And in Sulatlak, it sounds about the same, but it's pronounced with both lips almost touching, V, V. So the special thing about M and V in Sulatlak is that many words can start with either an M sound or a V sound. And it doesn't change the meaning at all. You can pronounce it either way. The same speakers would say it one way one time and another way another time. So it's free variation, and you should feel free to say it the way that you think sounds best or the way that's easiest for you. So just a couple of examples. This animal's name is Mak or Vak. Mak or Vak. Okay? Same name, same word, just pronounced two possible ways. Mashak or Vashak. Mashak means the same as Vashak. Mo'er, vor. Mo'er, vor. So you can either say it with a M or a V. Doesn't matter. And Mati or Vati. Okay? Mati or Vati. And same with mul or vul. Mul, vul. So basically, M and the V sound are treated as if they're the same sound. Okay? Doesn't make any difference. There is another sound in Sulatlak. We do have it in English, but we don't think about it very much. We don't spell it any special way. So it's the sound we call a glottal stop, and it's the sound that you hear when you say, uh-oh. Your throat closes up just for a second to say, uh-oh. And sometimes for some dialects of English, we'll use a glottal stop in the middle of a word in place of like a T. So you might say button or mitten with that instead of a T, instead of button or mitten. So it's that same sound, but in Sulatlak, we're spelling it with an apostrophe to show you that it's there. And it's in words like sure, sure. So it's marked with the apostrophe, so we don't say sure. You've got to make that little stop in your throat. Sure, sure. It's in vor, more. And in some words, it might be a little harder to hear because it might be at the end of a word. So bootvi, bootvi. You might not always hear that, but if you're pronouncing carefully, there should be that little catch right at the end, bootvi. And the same for mati, vati, mati, vati. So you should have a little catch in your throat. Where it gets really tricky is when it's between sounds, so it may be hard to hear in a word like he walked, he walked. And it's a little hard to say too, but just try. Try to remember that it's there, okay? And when we spell it, it would be spelled he walked with that little apostrophe before that T at the end. Okay, another sound that can be tricky in Sulatlak is the kwa sound. We're spelling it with a QH to make sure that it's different from the K sound, the K. So in a word like vashak, mashak, that word ends with just a K sound, which is pretty familiar to an English speaker. But a word like makwa or vakwa, okay, that should not be pronounced mak with just a plain K. That's a different sound. They're both sounds in Sulatlak, but this one has kwa at the end, and you should finish, it's almost like a K sound, and then you blow out like a whispered W. It's basically like whispering a W, but it should be pretty noisy, lots of air. So ma-kwa, va-kwa, okay? Ma-kwa or va-kwa. You'll hear this a lot in this video because there's this guy's name, and then I'll be asking the question, dua da, and I'll be saying things like ma ti wa da. So there's a lot of it. So just pay attention and do your best when you're pronouncing to make sure that you don't just end with mak, that you follow through and blow out that little whispered W sound at the end. One sound that is important in Sulatlak, but that does not exist in English at all. This is probably the most difficult sound for an English speaker to master, and I'm still working on it. We're spelling it with an LH, and it doesn't sound like an L, but the way that your mouth moves is a little bit like the position that your mouth is in to say a regular English L. So it sounds like the sound in the middle of ma-shak, va-shak, and it's at the end of the word lalish, okay? So this is a sound, it's in a lot of Sulatlak words. So it's really important to practice it, work on it. It's not quite a sh, sh sound. That is another sound in Sulatlak. So that's a separate sound. So if you say lalish, you're saying something different, okay? So lalish. And the way that you pronounce this sound is to prepare your tongue as if you're going to say a regular English L. So put your tongue in the position to say a regular English L, and then just stop right there. And then instead of saying you blow air out both sides of your tongue. Okay? Sometimes when I try to explain this sound to kids, I'll tell them that it reminds me of the way my cat sounds when she's angry and she hisses. Okay, so it is kind of a hissing sound. And the other way, if you're just having trouble keeping your tongue in the right place, just to practice the sound by itself, you can try putting your tongue in position. The tip of your tongue should be right behind your teeth. You can hold it there with your thumb. That might make it easier to just practice the sound on its own by itself. It's tricky trying to do that to say a word, but when you've practiced a few times, just saying the on its own, and try saying it in a word. Lalish, and vashak, mashak. And keep in mind, you can speak as slowly as you need to. There's no rush. It does take practice. It's not easy, and that's nobody's fault because we're all English speakers. We don't have this sound, so it's completely brand new. It just takes practice, so take your time with it.